dealing with this.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Social Chats, episode number 7. We are so happy that you're here, and if you're watching the replay, we're happy that you're watching the replay. So before Catherine introduces our guest today, which is DIANA MULVEY from Seeds Consulting, we're so happy to have this professional young lady joining us on the show today. I wanted to take a second and talk to you a little bit about what we're doing right now. So Catherine and I, my name's Heather, have a company, Keep It Simple Social Media. And our overarching goal is to always be adding content that can help you through the maze of social media, of utilizing your website in order to market your business. So we've been doing episode after episode and inviting guests onto the show to shoot live video right here on Facebook. And what does that mean for you? Well, that means that if you had a question in regards to whatever our guests are talking about, you are more than welcome to write your comment directly in the comment section. And when you do that, your comment does appear, and at the end of the show, we endeavor to get back to all those comments and try to answer the questions. And if we don't do it during the live portion of the show, then Catherine or I will come back later, and then we'll look at the questions and we'll review them and answer them as best we can, or even make a video answering your questions. Here's the other thing that I was thinking about today. If you're watching our live broadcast, that means that you might be thinking, hey, I'd really like to do this for my business. And you know what? That is a great idea. Facebook and YouTube streaming live video is the hottest new marketing that you can be doing for your business and to help you be found. And of course, to stay top of mind as the professional in whatever your business is. So we are here to help you if you're considering shooting a live video or creating a live show, such as Catherine and I are doing here on Social Chats, where we're inviting a lot of people we've worked with and that we've met over time. Catherine, we can see your screen right now. We are using live TV to shoot this show that we're doing today. So Catherine was not knowing that she was live. This is the first time we've done the show component on Be Live TV. And you actually have to be invited in order to use this component of shooting live. But Be Live TV has several options available for you to shoot, as well as they have a really great resource center. But Catherine and I, as I said, we are here and available. If you want to private message us on Facebook, we'll help you get started shooting live TV or live episodes if that's what you wish. Now, I do see that our fabulous guest has arrived today, and I am going to let Catherine introduce DIANA, and I'm going to bring DIANA into the studio with Catherine and I. Catherine, please go ahead.
So this is really exciting. We're really happy to have DIANA MULVEY join us today. Her company is called Seeds Consulting, and she is an advisor. She advises country's brand on corporate strategy, on marketing and communication project, and her company is a certified B Corporation. Her background is really impressive. It includes experience as a national marketing manager in the financial sector, and she's a former director of marketing for Lululemon. And she's been nominated for several awards. Welcome, DIANA. And then let me try to do my sound effects. Wait, I think I have them.
Okay.
This is the best part of the show. Hey, DIANA!
That's great.
Welcome.
So, DIANA, what we're going to do is we have a couple of topics that we've picked out when we took the time to peruse over your phenomenal website, by the way. And we looked at your number one topic, which was creating the strategy for your customers, as well as recommendations for small businesses or startups. We thought would be a really good idea if you could share some of those. And then we're going to end with the evolution of marketing for yourself over the last 10 years. And so that's going to be kind of the idea of our show today. We are shooting live directly on Facebook. And even though sometimes it takes a little bit of time for people to come on, we generally get hundreds of views after the show is over. So we might be coming back to you, Diana, and asking you questions if in fact the questions start appearing after the show is over. So Catherine, go ahead and ask Diana the first question.
All right, so just before I start, it says you're certified B Corporation. Do you want to say in a couple, briefly what does that mean, a B Corporation? We know it's a big deal, but we're not quite sure what it is.
Well, essentially, the B Corp certification for business is much like the fair trade certification would be for coffee or chocolate. So businesses that are committing to certain standards and environmental and social commitments, commitments for transparency and governance, can be certified by a third party that says that they meet a minimum standard. And in order to achieve the certification, it really varies depending on your business and what you're up to and how big your business is, but I'm part of a network of 2,000 businesses around the world that have achieved the certification, and super proud of that and really believe in this movement because I believe that business can really be used as a force for good in the world. And ultimately, that's what the B Corp movement is all about.
Awesome. I guess we'll Google it and we'll put a link in the comment field below this video. This is great. So
yeah, there's a little video. It's about 1.5 minutes, and it can be found at bcorporation.net. And that kind of walks you through everything and lets you know the other brands like Patagonia and Etsy and Method and Ben & Jerry's that have already committed to achieving this certification.
Awesome. Awesome. This is so great. See, we're already learning tons. Okay, so question one is about strategy on your website. So your website is seedconsulting.ca, right? .ca?
That's right.
Okay, seedconsulting.ca. So you talk about strategy and engagement strategy. So what's an engagement strategy, and why is strategy, I guess, so important, or one of the main things you mentioned on your site?
For sure. Well, first of all, an engagement strategy and tactics are going to be different for any business. There's really no cookie cutter approach to the work that I do or the work that any company might do in the engagement space. But generally, how I start first and foremost is what is the business? What business are you in? What are your business goals? And from then, really understanding at the 20,000 foot level, the bigger why are you in business? Then we can sort of look at what makes a difference in your world and how can you engage effectively with your target audience. So I always start with the big why. And I'm a fan of Simon Sinek's really big approach. I think there's 39 million views on his TED Talk if you want to learn about his approach to leadership. And ultimately, what he says is people don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it. And so I always like to dig in and get to the core of why a business or an entrepreneur is even doing anything in their space. So it's the big higher purpose, the big why, the big gut feeling on what gets you up in the morning, what gets you excited for work. So we start with that. And once we really peel back the layers and get clear on the higher purpose, then we can look at your business goals and understand the best way to engage with your target audience. Of course, once we start to dig in and understand the business, social media is usually one way that we can effectively engage with the target audience, but it could include a number of different tools in your toolkit. And I think engagement's really important because what you can gain from it is really valuable feedback. from your target clients. You could be answering questions and really helping different customers make decisions on what's best for them. You could maybe conduct research and development through a really great engagement strategy. You might be able to deal with, I don't know, product issues or some kind of recall. There's a whole number of different things that you can achieve through engagement. But ultimately, it starts with your business goals and what you want to achieve. So I thought I'd just sort of explain that at a high level, and then we could talk a little bit more about some examples in engagement, depending on what you're hearing with your clients and what I've been hearing in my experience as well.
That is an awesome start. We have a little bit of feedback happening, but Diana, our business is all about engagement, and yours has so many different layers to it. So we would love if you elaborated a little.
Sure.
bit.
Yeah, well, one example of business that I've been working with recently, they're trying to really understand what's motivating their target audience to sign up and register with their program. And they've been really afraid to get into social media, and it's for a number of reasons. One is they have limited resources and they're not really sure they can manage a possible like huge questions and comments and engagement that might happen. They're also wondering if they'll be able to manage people's expectations in that. And they're also really strapped overall. Like they have a really basic website. They only have a few, and they're just not sure what the best be to get in front of them to really understand what they need. So what we've talked to a little mix of 3 or 4 areas where they could get a lot of benefit from engaging with their target audience. So in this case, the organization provides affordable housing. And so people can buy or rent in their program for restricted housing in Whistler, where we live. And so they know that social media could be one really great way to engage people that might be interested in purchasing or renting a home. But I've always been talking to them about, what about open houses? What about doing some kind of information session with a realtor, with a mortgage broker, with an insurance company, so that the potential home buyers can get all their questions asked at once. So social media and an open house. Another thing might be to do online downloadable checklists and information that could be really useful for a new home buyer who's just getting into this space. They might want to include a list of resources and get feedback from their target audience on which resources has helped them the most. So what I'm trying to show here is that the toolkit is not just one thing online, but it's a combination of things, whether it be face-to-face, whether it be a one-time open house where, you know, you get a room at the same time. Or maybe you set up an information desk at an actual open house. So let's say you get 100 people coming to the open house, they can, in that space, they're already going. So have them talk to, you know, 4 other experts in that area so they can get all their questions answered. And then, of course, first and foremost, and I know you guys have shared this with your clients too, they have to have a really solid website. And that's one of their first and foremost important no-brainer touch points. And you've got to make sure it's current. You've got to make sure it's going to address whatever issues are important to your target customers so that they can go there and at least get started in that engagement process with you. So there's one example where, you know, 4 or 5 different things really complete an engagement strategy that give their target customers a lot of different options.
Wow, exactly. And many of our guests, Diana, have told us over and over, website, website, website. And so it's nice to hear you pulling all the other resources together, but also nailing home the fact that the website is so crucial to a business. Catherine, did you have anything to add?
No, I think this is really interesting, and I think it's always I found one of the things with marketing that we've learned with all our guests is that it's all one. You kind of need a strategy that includes a couple of things that all work together. And we talk a lot about emails and then social media to drive people to your website and then collect email database. And all this is great and it's all online. And then I think what's great is what Diana is bringing is the actual, like a real component. Like you have all this, but you still need the live events and you still need to be out there in the community and you still need to have like a real, not a live, like social live, but a real physical experience with your clients. So I think it's all part of the big, great marketing mix. So
and I know, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, really interesting.
I know for a lot of business owners, the idea of, having a big toolkit with a lot of different pieces can be overwhelming and it can be scary and you don't know where to start. But in my experience, and I'm a planner, I'm a strategist, the more thoughtful you are in that initial approach, the more you kind of map out what's the business strategy, what are your goals, how can marketing or social media support those goals, what can you build into a campaign plan that would really lay out exactly what you would need to do to try and support those goals and drive things forward. Once you really lay that out and spend the time developing a really concrete plan, it gets really easy after that. Even, for example, a lot of the work I do, we develop really thoughtful, strong key messages. And we're very careful about that. We wordsmith, we play with words, we play with the frequently asked questions, and we anticipate what's going to come up in that engagement. And we plan it all out. So we're getting input from different people, maybe even a little focus group where we're testing the ideas that we're developing. We write it all out, we wordsmith, we get it ready to go. So once you launch the engagement plan on those different channels, it really becomes so much easier because you've already thought of everything in advance and you don't need to reinvent the wheel. Whatever you put on your website, you create sound bites that are really user-friendly, and that goes on your social media page. Or whatever you've developed in your key messages, those can be used for your spokesperson. Here you go. You have a radio interview opportunity. Here are your key messages. And it all kind of works together, hopefully kind of seamlessly. But, as I mentioned, once you've mapped it out, it's so much easier to use those elements into all the different tactics, all those different touch points that you've decided on for your engagement plan.
Excellent. Catherine, can I go on with our second question?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. For those of you that are just turning on the replay or are joining us live right now on Social Chats episode 7, we have in the studio, actually in her own studio, Diana Mulvey with Seeds Consulting. And I have to say, Diana, my husband said to me the other day, wow, that is one brilliant young lady that you are bringing on your show. And he's with the Resort Municipality of Whistler. So that's a nice compliment. We were very excited to have you today.
Thank you.
We've been talking about the roadmap to a successful business for a marketing plan with Diana. And if you watch the replay, you will listen to some of the great tips that she's already given to us today. And my next question would be, what kind of recommendations do you have for a business or a startup getting started?
Yeah, so I actually help a lot of social entrepreneurs in particular. So those are entrepreneurs that are really creating something that has a community impact. And I've been part of Whistler's Social Venture Challenge the last 4 years. And so these are total startup entrepreneurs. They are actually just conceiving their business idea and sort of vetting different concepts so that they can come up with a business model that they know is going to be successful, or at least have some really great points to get them off the ground and get them started. And for anyone who's just setting up a shingle and getting into their own business, it's overwhelming to think of all the different, many things that you need to do to get off the ground and get up and running. And in marketing in particular, it can be for some people completely overwhelming, like you're drinking through a fire hose when you start getting ideas, and it can just make you might kind of park it and leave it till the end. Or it can be the opposite, where a lot of entrepreneurs I've worked with get so excited and it's like a big shiny object that all they think about is the marketing, and they park some of the basic business fundamentals that they need to work on as well. So when I work with entrepreneurs that are just getting started, I try to look at that balance. And this is something that I think is a little unique in my approach, because I'm a strategist and a marketer. And I think you need to look at both elements equally, no matter how small your business, when you're getting started. So you start with the foundation, like how are you building your business? What's your business model or your business plan if you've gotten that far? And then you need to really be thoughtful and look at marketing from a really strategic lens. So the one area that we really drill down and get very clear on is, who is your ideal target customer? And it's tough sometimes when you're just getting started to really hone in and be picky about that ideal niche customer, because a lot of business owners try to be all things to all people, and it's really scary to think of going really niche focused. But definitely in my experience over the years, the more focused you are, the better success you're going to generate in those initial stages of just getting going. And it's almost impossible to be all things to all people. So why not just get really confident, really good at a small niche, and then perhaps build from there? So we start, first of all, really understanding the ideal customer. Who do you really want to work with? Who do you not want to work with? That's kind of a fun exercise too, because, right, we're in this to hopefully have some fun and build our lives. And who do we want to spend time with, right? Who do we really want to play with, whatever business we're in? And so we get clear on who your ideal is and who do you not want to work with. And then we even create like a persona. So maybe you draw a picture of them, or cut things out of a magazine, or maybe you list 10 things about where this person lives and how they spend their day and who they share their time with and what their dreams are. And you sort of create this fictitious person that you build like a real character of who they are. And that can be fun for a lot of reasons. One, it just gets you excited about who you might get to work with. But from a marketing perspective, it makes it so much easier to be able to choose, for example, what social media channels is that person going to be on? Where do they spend their spare time? Who do they hang out with? What kind of language would resonate with them? What kind of language would turn them off? Mm-hmm. And all of these elements make it so much easier when you're developing the rest of your marketing toolkit. So once we have the target audience and the personas, then we can sort of hone in and decide, okay, you know what, for that ideal person, I'm going to do 3 things. I know that they check their email. I know that they're in this one particular Facebook group, and I know they listen to this one podcast. Let's say that's your example. And maybe I'm just going to focus on those 3 things and find a way to get in front of that target audience. And really be realistic, especially as a small business owner. Don't bite off more than you can chew. And what can you manage on your own, or maybe with a company like Keep It Simple Social Media, or maybe with a summer intern to help you? But what can be realistically managed? If you take on 10 things, but then your website tanks and it becomes, dated, or maybe it's glitchy, then what's the point of having 10 different touch points to reach your customer? So pick 3 and do it really well and really invest in those things. And then the other thing for any business owner, but definitely for a startup, is you have to stand out. And that's so difficult. But in all your messaging, you have to hammer those differentiators, those unique points of difference. You have to hammer that home and really be relevant to your target audience. As you know, it's insanely hard to cut through the clutter now in all the messages that are coming from all directions. So the more relevant and the stronger you can be in sharing your differentiators, the more likely you're going to stand out to that target audience. So those are the main things that I would share with a startup business owner, just to get their venture off the ground and get in front of their ideal target audience. I do have some other things that I can chat about, but I just wanted to see if you had any questions or anything else you wanted to contribute to that.
Those are excellent. Go ahead, Catherine.
Well, I was going to say, this is so interesting. Like this, I think we're going to do a script of all this and then write it all down in a blog and then turn it into a blog. All the steps, because, well, this is amazing, because really any like business, even if you're already existing, could learn from this, right? These are really good points. I really, that was really interesting. I guess, we had one more question for you, and it was a little bit on the evolution of marketing. You've been in this business for a long time. You work with some really big companies. You've seen kind of an evolution. I think in the last 10 years, marketing has changed quite a bit. So I was wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-blowing when I think of how much marketing has changed. And I am one of those kind of unapologetically old school marketers. And I struggle with this myself sometimes, because it's hard to keep up. And how do I really effectively coach my clients when I'm barely on top of it all? And what I've seen in the last 10 years is really this monster, massive shift from kind of more traditional in-person conventional channels to a huge shift to digital. And what's changed enormously, and I'll give this example because it still blows my mind, is, you know, when I was the first full-time marketing director at Lululemon, there was certainly a fantastic marketing team that built up the brand. But when I was in that role, there really wasn't any social media that was used for business. Mm-hmm. Zero. And I believe it was Facebook was just kind of on the periphery for that young, still in college or university audience. It was nowhere near as broadly used as it is today. And from that brand's perspective, it was a whole other challenge to look at, because that brand was totally invested in face-to-face, viral event-based marketing, where we would create an event and draw hundreds of people physically to a store or to a yoga class, or we'd bring a really deep group of athletes and fitness leaders to a focus group, and we'd pick their brain for 2 hours. And it was like really deep face-to-face engagement with our core target audience and our influencers. And so adding something completely different like digital into the mix was a huge challenge. And even at that time, the company was just building its e-commerce site, if you can believe that, because a lot of Canadian brands didn't play in e-commerce till well after US brands did. So that shift happened really quickly over the last 10 years. And now when I look at that company, I see that it's amazing how much of their budget's now invested in digital. And they have entire teams dedicated to that. And I think it's also worth noting that there's still a balance. And this is where I think I still offer a lot of value to my client base, is you can't just go 100% digital in a lot of cases. You could, but for some brands, it just doesn't make sense. So you have to look at what's right for your business and your brand, and look at the toolkit and that whole mix. So maybe before you only put 5% into digital, maybe that shifts, maybe it's 30%. But you still have to look at the whole base of tools that are available to you, whether it's print ads or events or radio or PR or social media, or there's so many other things you could do. But I think what any brand needs to do is take their top 2 or 3, test them, really invest in them to make sure they're working, measure the effectiveness before you go and mix with your budget again and make further investments. And don't just do kind of a half, trial and dabble in it. Really invest in it before you make solid decisions on making changes to your marketing mix, because there's a lot to consider, and you won't know if it works for you unless you test it and you really invest in that thoroughly. But for sure, that's like the budgets have shifted, the toolkit has shifted, the metrics have shifted, and all of this in the last 10 years. And one thing I'd like to add, which is, again, the space that I play in, but I think that in so many industries, your core customer is way more discerning and way more conscious about where they spend their money. So they're digging in. They really want to understand who they're working with, who they're spending their money with, what those companies value, how those companies give back, how those companies build community. And so these are things that maybe a company already had invested in, but they didn't really talk about it before. And in my world, in your marketing and PR, you definitely need to share what you're up to, your bigger why, your bigger purpose, because I think customers really care about those things. And that's shifted immensely in the last 10 years.
Wow, and it certainly has. We constantly, when we're teaching, we're talking to our students about having a balance today between print and digital, and how important it is not to forget one or the other during this transition. Oh, wow. You know what? That 30 minutes has literally flown.
I know, right?
It has, and it's been such a pleasure to have you on our broadcast today. And just for everyone that's listening in, this is a live broadcast. We're using a brand new format with Be Live TV. You can see it in the top right-hand corner of the screen. And so DIANA Mulvey is coming to us from her studio. Catherine Aird, my beautiful business partner, is coming to us live in her studio, and I am live in my studio as well. And we have had DIANA Mulvey on the show today from Seeds Consulting, and she has shared with us, I don't know if you noticed, but I have been taking notes like mad. So I can recap, and Catherine and I can go over everything that's been shared. But I kind of picked out a few things to just to end the show with. You want to remember, DIANA said, who is your ideal customer? Who are you going after? I liked how you said, and who is the customer you don't want to go after? That was good too. Creating your persona around your business. The more focused you are, the better your target in your marketing will be. I liked very early in the show, DIANA, you said it does get easier. So for those businesses that are just starting out, or maybe you're revamping your business, those are some nice words to leave with. You have been a very valuable guest, DIANA. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm going to let Catherine introduce and talk a little bit about who's going to be on our show, Social Chats, episode number 8, next week.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, DIANA. Thank you. It was really, really, really great. We'll make sure to share this with everybody. Oh, geez. No, the phone is ding dong. Okay, I'm going to quickly introduce our guest for next week. I'm really, really happy to have on the show Blair Kaplan from blairkaplan.ca. So Blair does public relations, and she's a social media expert. I came across her at different events, social media events, but I also follow her on Instagram. She has over 23,000 followers on Instagram, something like ridiculous of how is that even possible. So that's what we're going to ask her. And she She's worked with several major global companies in fashion, hospitality, beauty, sports, transportation, entertainment industries, and she is a digital communication expert. So we are going to have her next week. I believe it's Wednesday, 10 a.m. Is that correct?
Wednesday. I believe so, but we'll be marketing it and putting it out there on our social channels.
Yes, we will be sharing it. I'm pretty sure it's next Wednesday, 10 a.m. Blair Kaplan. You can follow her Instagram account is @Blair from Blairland, and it's really inspiring. It's beautiful. So we will see you next week.
Okay, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. Once again, Diana, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show today. And if you're watching the show or the replay and you think you might be the perfect guest to be on Social Chats, we'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and send us a private message here on Facebook. Until next week, take care and don't forget, keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Thanks.